10, 9, 8. Right now, your heart is beating. Your lungs are moving. Electrical signals are racing through your brain at speeds of up to 120 meters per second. But what happens when all of it stops? Scientists, doctors, and people who have returned from the brink of death have given us clues. And what they describe is nothing like what you'd expect. This is what happens in the last 10 seconds before you die.
At second 10, something extraordinary happens. The moment the heart stops, the brain has only 10 to 15 seconds of oxygen left. And somehow, the brain seems to know it. Instead of shutting down immediately, it responds with one final surge of activity, a neural storm. Waves of electrical signals race across the brain as neurons fire intensely in a last burst of communication. Researchers at the University of Michigan observed this phenomenon in patients at the moment of cardiac arrest. To their surprise, brain activity didn't simply fade away. For a brief moment, it actually increased. It's as if the brain, faced with the end, makes one final attempt to understand what's happening.
At seconds 8 and 9, one of the last senses still at work may be hearing. Some researchers believe that hearing is among the final senses to fade before death. Hospice nurses and doctors have reported countless cases of patients who appeared completely unresponsive, yet still seemed to react to the voices of loved ones in the room. Even at the very end, they may still be listening. At the same time, something else may be happening inside the brain. A powerful flood of neurotransmitters is released: serotonin, dopamine, and other chemicals associated with mood, perception, and awareness. Some scientists have also explored whether compounds such as DMT could play a role in near-death experiences. DMT is a naturally occurring substance found in the human body and is also known for its use in certain traditional rituals. But whether it contributes to the vivid experiences reported near death remains one of neuroscience's greatest mysteries.
And this is where things begin to get strange. Thousands of people who have survived clinical death from different countries, cultures, and religions describe remarkably similar experiences. At seconds 6 and 7, some researchers believe the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory, may become overwhelmed with activity. Memories don't seem to return one by one. They come all at once, not like a slideshow, but as if your entire life unfolds in a single instant. Dr. Sam Parnia of Stony Brook University has documented hundreds of near-death accounts. Many people reported observing their lives from an outside perspective. But what surprised them most wasn't what they saw, it was what they felt. They didn't just remember the moments when they hurt someone, they experienced the emotions of the people around them, the pain, the love, the fear, the joy. As if for a brief moment, every action revealed its true impact. What's remarkable is that despite their differences, Buddhists, atheists, Catholics, children, the elderly, the core experience remains strikingly similar. The details change, but the pattern stays the same. This isn't proof of an afterlife. From a scientific perspective, these experiences may be rooted in the brain's chemistry during extreme stress. And yet, what that chemistry creates can feel like something far greater. At seconds 4 and 5, something physical begins to happen to your vision. The retina depends on a constant supply of oxygen. As blood pressure drops, that supply starts to fail. Darkness closes in from the edges of your vision, faster and faster, until only a single point of light remains: a tunnel. This isn't mysticism, it's neurology. But here's where it gets strange. As that tunnel narrows, the remaining light doesn't always seem to fade away. For many people, it becomes brighter, warmer, more vivid than anything they've ever experienced.
Neurologist Olaf Blank at EPFL has studied what happens in the temporal parietal junction, the region of the brain involved in our sense of self and spatial awareness. Under extreme conditions, disruptions in this area can produce something extraordinary, the sensation of leaving your own body. People describe watching themselves from above, looking down at the room beneath them. Some even reported details of events that they later claimed they couldn't possibly have known while unconscious. Skeptics argue that these experiences are the brain's attempt to make sense of a system in collapse. Others believe they point to something we still don't understand. Either way, for the person experiencing it, it feels completely real.
By seconds 2 and 3, the pain may disappear completely. And this is where we need to pause for a moment, because it goes against everything we instinctively believe about death. As the body begins to shut down, the brain releases a flood of endorphins and enkephalins, the body's own natural opioids, powerful chemicals designed to reduce suffering. Your own pharmacy opens in the final moments. In 1892, Swiss geologist Albert Heim survived a near-fatal fall in the Alps. Fascinated by what he had experienced, he collected accounts from dozens of others who had survived avalanches, drownings, and deadly falls. Again and again, they described the same thing. He wrote, "There was no anxiety, no trace of pain. Instead, there was profound calm, mental clarity, and a sense of acceptance. Not terror, clarity, not agony, peace." Modern medicine has observed similar reports so consistently that researchers gave the phenomenon a name: terminal lucidity. In the final moments, the mind can become astonishingly clear, clearer than anyone would expect, perhaps even clearer than it has ever been.
Second one, the final thought. What is it? No scientist can answer that with certainty, but there are clues. Studies of people who were successfully resuscitated reveal a fascinating pattern. Their final thoughts weren't about regret, they weren't about fear, they weren't about unfinished work. More often than not, they were about a person, a specific face, a specific name, a feeling of warmth. In its final act of computation, the brain doesn't seem to run through a report of every mistake you've ever made. It doesn't replay every failure. Instead, it turns toward the connections that gave your life meaning, the people you loved, the people who loved you, the moments that made you human. And if, right now, you're wondering who your own final thought would be, then perhaps you already know the answer. Second zero, clinical death. The heart has stopped. But this is where science forces us to pause, because the brain doesn't necessarily stop at the exact same moment. In 2023, a study published in PNAS examined the brain activity of 4 patients after life support was withdrawn. Researchers recorded their neural activity during the dying process. What they found was unexpected. Gamma waves, the brain's fastest rhythms associated with conscious awareness, attention, and information processing, briefly surged. In some regions of the brain, their activity reached levels comparable to or even higher than those seen during normal wakefulness. What does that mean? No one knows. Does consciousness persist for a short time after the heart stops? Is it simply the brain's final attempt to organize a collapsing system? Science doesn't yet have an answer, but studies like this challenge our assumptions about what the moment of death actually looks like. Because if the brain can become intensely active after the heart stops, what is it doing in those final seconds? And is there still someone there to experience it?
Dr. Sam Parnia has referred to this possibility as a form of hidden consciousness. Reports from some patients who survived resuscitation include detailed descriptions of medical procedures and conversations they later claimed to have perceived while they appeared to be unconscious. Skeptics argue that these experiences can be explained by residual brain activity and memory reconstruction. Others believe they hint at something far more profound. For now, the truth remains one of the greatest mysteries in modern science. And perhaps the final frontier isn't outer space. It's the last few seconds of the human mind.
For science, this is deeply uncomfortable. Because if consciousness isn't entirely dependent on a beating heart, then perhaps our understanding of it is still incomplete. Some researchers have even asked a more unsettling question. Could consciousness be something more than the product of ordinary brain activity? Physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff proposed one of the most controversial ideas in modern neuroscience, the ORC-OR theory. According to their hypothesis, consciousness may involve quantum processes occurring within the brain's microscopic structures. It remains a theory, a highly debated one, and there is currently no scientific evidence showing that consciousness survives the death of the body. But what has changed is this. Fewer scientists are willing to describe death as a simple off switch. The data are more complex than that. Carlos Alvarado, one of the leading researchers of near-death experiences, analyzed thousands of reports collected over decades. The pattern was remarkably consistent. Regardless of culture, regardless of age, regardless of religious belief, people described profound clarity, a sense of leaving the body, encounters with overwhelming peace, and a feeling that what they experienced was somehow more real than ordinary life. None of this proves what happens after death, but it does suggest that the final moments of consciousness may be far stranger than we once imagined. The mystery isn't over. In many ways, we're only beginning to ask the right questions.
10 seconds. A neural storm. Silence. An entire lifetime unfolding in a single instant. A tunnel of light. A peace more powerful than any painkiller. A final thought centered on someone you love. And a brain that refuses to simply switch off, burning brighter than ever in its final moments. Perhaps the most astonishing thing about death isn't how foreign it is to us, but how human it remains until the very last signal. If this video made you think about what truly matters to you, maybe that's the point, because none of us know how much time we have left, but we do get to choose what we do with the time we have now, who we forgive, who we call, who we love, and what kind of life we'll remember when our own countdown begins. Maybe the mystery of death isn't meant to teach us how to die. Maybe it's meant to teach us how to live. And if your last thought really does belong to the person who mattered most, the question isn't what you'll think about in those final seconds. The question is, who are you thinking about right now?